Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. Today, Thomas, let's decode the Trump tweets of August 5th, 2018. But before we do, I sneaked in 2 tweets from August 4th about the great Trump rally that was held in Lewis Center, Ohio yesterday evening. I just put those in there so we could talk about it. Wasn't that a great rally?
It's always great. It's interesting, though, that in a state with a lot of his enemies, he had to change the venue at the last minute because it wasn't secure. Yeah, it's not secure when you have that governor of that state who is a direct enemy of our president and is so blatant about it. Anyway, it's an honor to get to look at these Trump tweets with you, Betsy, because our president is in fact making the news. Don't watch the boob tube, watch the tweets.
Well, now remember, folks, if you go into the description box, which is right below the YouTube, and click on that link, you'll open up, and I've got all kinds of goodies in there. And one of the goodies I have is a video. The best part of the night, I thought, was when he called up Jim Jordan, who was in the audience, and the crowds went nuts. They were calling Speaker of the House, Speaker of the House. And I personally felt very good because I feel like our word has gotten out that the people, I mean, the House is for the people, and it's the people. We need to rally around Jim Jordan as our next speaker. And I've also suggested that you pick up the phone. You can at least do that. Call your representative if they are Republican and say you want to see Jim Jordan Speaker of the House.
Kevin McCarthy, the assumed replacement without even a vote being taken. Paul Rhino Ryan, they already have it all planned out. It's a done deal. But hey, what do we have here? Trump knew Jim Jordan's wrestling record. He knew that he's a champion. And Jim jumps up there without a jacket on, never met the president, and people have said that, he's the president's lapdog. No, he's said before he's never even met the man. Met him for the first time, and Trump gave him a hug. It looked like they were going to wrestle right there on the spot. And he says, it was just an amazing thing. Then, of course, Jim gets up there and does his thing, which is just to nail the deep state and showing that it comes from the Democrats and that, Trump's plan is the plan and that he's there to defend the president. And that's what Trump wants. And I sure do hope that, just as you say, that a real movement is set afoot to support Jim Jordan as the new Speaker of the House, because it's the only way that MAGA can go forward.
And what people at the rally may not have known is that Michael McKibben was there at the rally. Leader Technologies is in Lewis Center, Ohio. Also, what you may not know, Thomas, is that Aim for Truth listeners Kevin and Bethany were there, and they spotted Michael in the crowd, took a picture with him. I mean, it's great. We have such a great truth community, and everybody's on fire.
It'll be so great when Michael McKibben's face, the face of a moral person, replaces that of Dude Zuckerberg, because Zuckerberg is a complete fake and Michael's the real thing. And I think it's wonderful that it was so near, that it was so near to Michael and his work there in Ohio and Leader Technologies. And so many of the people in Ohio right now are wondering why it is that the big tech companies are moving into Ohio, particularly Columbus. Well, that's because of your governor, who is a complete globalist, crooked. Oh my, anything that Kasich says, ignore and go the opposite direction. Because can you imagine that? No, don't even get me started on him.
Okay, so let's move on now to the tweets of August 5th. And hey, it's all about fake news today. The fake news hates me saying that they are the enemy of the people only because they know it's true. I'm providing a great service by explaining this to the American people. They purposefully cause great division and distrust. They can also cause war. They are very dangerous and sick.
Well, there you have it. The battle is engaged. And we hope that at the end, all of mainstream media will be shown for exactly what it is, which is nothing more than a corporate mouthpiece for people who want to promote war. Here you have Trump actually saying this. They can also cause war. The entire nature of the media is to manipulate, to program you. And what do they program you into? Believing who the enemy is, so that then when the wars come, you accept that and you never question it. We went to war with Iraq twice, and the American public never even asked a question. Only a couple people on Capitol Hill even asked a question. Why are we in this war? The United Nations can't pass a resolution that causes the United States to go into war, can it? Well, George H.W. Bush did that. So what we're talking about here is this is the war. And the war is directly not only very dangerous, but it is treasonous. And not only is it the enemy of the state, people, it is the enemy of the state. And Trump warns you and warns you. And he's telling you what he's about to do. And what he's about to do is call all of you out for truth in broadcasting violations. Because they know, you know, because of Avid, the prompting machines that tell them what to say, all directed from one single place. And all you have to do is think about who is directing all of the news in America. That would be the enemy of the state. Because why would anybody want to tear down America? We accuse, the deep state, accuses Russia as being the group that wants to tear down America. No, that would be the news. 97% of reporting on Trump, or as he said last night, 96, 4%. So it's gone down a little bit. Only 96% of everything reported on mainstream media is against Trump.
Well, you know, there's no investigative journalism anymore. I mean, we've done more investigative journalism on the American intelligence media than all these fake news sites put together in the last year. And Avid is working strong and hard. You know, there's been lately a story about this mainstream media going after Q and the Q followers. Well, if you looked, all the stories were the same. They were running on 40 to 50 different outlets. Obviously, they're getting their message from Avid.
Oh, yes, and it's very dangerous, as he points out here, and it's sick because it's not news at all. It isn't news at all, and it isn't truth at all, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, which is give intelligence, give information to we the people so we'll know who to elect and who to run out of office. And we'll know when the time comes when we have to redo our government, because the government is ours. It is not theirs.
No, it's not theirs. And this has been going on for a long time. In the description box below, you're going to see an example of how the Gulf of Tonkin, for example, all that was. I mean, we were in Vietnam largely because of a propaganda media that kept the fire, the flames going about the Vietnam War, and people were murdered. I mean, we were in that generation. We were fighting for peace, and there all along our media was fighting against us. Another place to look that's more recent is 9/11. Now when you go back and you look at the old clips, you go, oh my gosh, how did I fall for that? That was just media BS the whole time. Think about the millions of people around the world whose lives were lost because your fake, phony media, the enemy of the people, lies to us constantly.
Straight from the White House. The Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened. Vietnam was entered into by Lyndon Baines Johnson to cover up for the fact that people were beginning to realize that JFK's assassination was from the inside. And what was happening at that point? You have Daddy Bush basically making his way up to through the CIA right up to the White House. And from that point on, everything that we've been told has been CIA tinged, which is subversion, alienation, exfiltration of the truth and turning it into a lie, subliminal control. All these things that's normal, standard CIA operation on other countries. Now, I don't think it should be legal that we do it to other countries, especially if we're not at war with them. And so the excuse of terrorism allows the CIA to do that to everyone, and because of the U.S. Freedom Act, which was the rewritten U.S. Patriot Act, all of us are terrorists until proven otherwise. So we are being not only propagandized against and directly now used as the tool of the current administration, and legally, because the National Defense Authorization Act was changed by Obama to allow propaganda. And he created the Global Engagement Center. And what that is the source of all this stuff that they're calling Russian meddling. No, it was American control, all coordinated by a $1.5 billion donation by Eric Schmidt directly to Obama. And in the White House was set up what we would call basically the yellow journalism, or the propaganda machine that is now, as they are proud to say on CNN, you just put a cut on Truth News headlines where they're saying, we are the station of Hillary Clinton. We've done everything that we could possibly do for her. As a matter of fact, we are really part of her campaign. Okay? And somehow that is allowed to be legal? No, that is not legal. When you know you are telling a lie and you broadcast it, you can be closed down.
Well, can these people, the actual people at CNN, be arrested and go to jail eventually? I know we've got so many people we've got to do this to because of their lies?
No, because they'd have to do it to all the stations because they're all reading the same lies.
Well, we have
Avid, ISIS Management, and Leader Plus has created a system that is the Ministry of Truth, as we predicted this would happen through the Global Engagement Center and the help of the Brits and Strategic Communications Laboratories in Cambridge Analytica. They put into place a psychological operation system that uses all social media. And it is ran by whoever understands that it exists and can be manipulated. Otherwise, it's ran by default by what people call the deep state, what we call, very specifically, the shadow government, and specifically the senior executive service members who are in control of all the federal agencies. They have been continuously, since the time of Obama and 8 years of fascism of Obama, which we warred on every country that we could that we could bomb. He did. No permission of anybody to be at war with 7 countries, continuously. 200,000 bombs he dropped during his 8 years. Never stopped, never a day without dropping bombs, 26,000 a year or so. Even in the last moment, in the last hour of his presidency, he dropped bombs on Yemen, and then just a few weeks later said Trump should not be allowed to drop bombs on Yemen. This is the kind of fascism that we were living in, and it spread to the media because why? As Trump says, the media creates war. War creates money for the military-industrial complex, and that's who drives the donations to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which drives Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and Schumer and Pelosi.
Yeah, okay, so let's go on to the tariffs now. These 2 tweets I'm going to read together. Tariffs are working big time. Every country on earth wants to take wealth out of the U.S., always to our detriment. I say, as they come, tax them. If they don't want to be taxed, let them make or build the product in the U.S. In either event, it means jobs and great wealth. Because of tariffs, we will be able to start paying down large amounts of the $21 trillion in debt that has been accumulated much by the Obama administration, while at the same time reducing taxes for our people. At minimum, we will make much better trade deals for our country.
This is really, really, really loaded. Okay, and again, it's such an honor not to be attempting to decode silly riddles and nonsense and URLs that people post like a social high school bulletin board. I'm not going to mention any names. What we want to work with is reality. This is the news, folks. And he, right here, just told you something that you probably didn't notice. And I'm going to try to decode this for you. And it's really hard because he's a stable genius. And he is really, at all times, every word he puts down here, he knows the effect it's going to have.
When is a stable genius going to get some people arrested?
Oh, no. It's a conspiracy. They're all going to have to be arrested at one time. That's what it's now turned into. They forced the issue exactly as we said. And in a minute, we'll go into that. The 20 missing pages, the 20 pages that Nunes wants redacted, which he will do. Trump already said he wants absolute clarity in all of this. He'll redact the whole dadgum thing. He's letting his top people, and his top people are jerks. They will not redact all of it. But he will give them that. He'll give Nunes those 20 pages. And just like Nunes' memo shook them up so bad that they now know they're all part of a conspiracy and they're all fighting for their lives and just lying and just doing fantastically crazy things. It's beautiful. Peter Strzok thinks he came out of that testimony okay? No, he indicated how bad it was. This man was in control of every negative thing, exactly as we told you. He's the fall guy. He's mad because we told you he'd be mad. We told you this so long ago. I can't remember how long ago I told you that the fall guy, which will be the number 2 guy in the FBI counterintelligence department, will be the fall guy. And he will be used for everything from Huma Abedin's espionage, Imran Awan's espionage, Hillary's espionage, the fact that now Comey's espionage, he used a Gmail account as the head of the FBI and talked about business on his Gmail account. That's all espionage. It was all hacked. We know it was hacked. It's the testimony's shown it's been hacked. So what is really going on here?
We're going to find out that Brennan is behind it all. And
he's one of them.
Is,
He was one of the rabid dogs, but remember, it started with John Podesta and Hillary Clinton, Alexandria Chalupa, Mook, Blumenthal, those jerks in the Democratic National Committee. That would be, of course, Brazil and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And they all sat there and conspired against the United States of America, weaponized the intelligence community in December 15th of 2015. This is a known fact because they wrote it into WikiLeaks. If people would pay attention to the content of WikiLeaks, it would all unravel. Okay? We've been telling you this from day one. So that's the reason Peter Strzok is so mad. And anyway, don't even get me started on him. I should do an entire hour on nothing more than showing the criminality that was from the beginning created and placed upon that man. And he is proud to have been the person doing it. He said, don't worry. I know you're setting me up, and it's still okay because I have so much power. You know that he took the power after having his top secret security clearance removed from him for his corruption. He then joined the Mueller team, got it back, and carried with him powers that can only come from the CIA and the Counterintelligence Department of the FBI. And that would be national security letters. A lot of these things, as I told you from the beginning, were not FISA requests. They were national security letters. He wrote them. This will eventually come out. He's the one who allowed his messages between him and Lisa Page. He chose between 55,000 for the 280-some that we've seen. That's it. He has been in control of this all along. He carried the ability to FISA court declassification and classification, top secret classification, top secret declassification, national security letters, okay? That's like next to the president. Only the president has that much power, and in fact, he should not have been doing this without informing the president, and so it was an operation. It was an operation, a CIA operation, Crossfire Hurricane, which is now still going on, folks.
Yes, but let's get back to that other point you were making, because I was all tingly inside when you were talking about it. Like a conspiracy, he will just grab all these people? You're saying and this is going to happen when these 20 pages are unredacted?
No, when the 20 pages are unredacted, you will see the people, the central people, and they will have to lose their job. That will be Rod Rosenstein. That's the reason they chose the fourth FISA warrant. He signed it. It will show that Comey also had spies. It will show it's going to say, because in the end, Rod Rosenstein is an idiot. And remember what he said. He signed that FISA court warrant renewal on the fourth time, still having yet not read it. Okay. He had not read it. That's what he testified. So he's an idiot. He's beyond an idiot. Rat Rodenstein is as low as can be. The only thing lower than that is Jeff Benedict Arnold Sessions, who chose him knowing that Mueller had already been chosen. He chose Rosenstein to choose Mueller because Comey had already chosen Mueller. Comey went to Mueller before he ever gave the leaks to, admitted publicly that he leaked, but he's still not been charged for his perjury, his leaks, any of his crimes, the cover-up for Hillary Clinton, the midterm exam. He hasn't been for the ignoring the Huma Abedin espionage, the Imran Awan espionage, the DNC corruption and the collusion and the direct working with Russia and foreign agents against our election, against the president-elect and against a candidate, and against President Trump. Still going on to this very day. Now let's go back to the money issue. He's saying tariffs are working big time. As we said, Congress, shut up. Do not interrupt in his deals. He got China to fold by 27% in tariffs after they attempted currency manipulation. But as we've told you, you cannot manipulate currency against America when America owns at least 87% of all world currency, the wealth of world currency. So China is barking up the wrong tree. So China tried, first off, with fake gold to create a gold-backed yuan. Oh, isn't it interesting?
I know you're trying to impress me by taking off that shirt.
I'm trying to be like Tom Fitton.
I was just going to say, but no, it's not working for you.
I'm getting all worked up because I'm talking about China, my number one enemy. Come on now.
Okay,
except for, of course, the SES and the Deep State and the Brits. But remember, the Brits work with the Chinese. Now, going back, China tried to have a currency war with this recently. They lost. First off, their lies about a gold-backed yuan was smashed by our Treasury Department, and then the whole world found out. Their totalitarianism of trying to demand that Taiwan is part of their country by simply default, by making every country that they have loaned money or have any deal with comply with the idea, even in their brochures for airlines flying to Taiwan. They cannot say the word Taiwan. This is a military... You want to talk about a war? The war right now is between China and Taiwan, and it seems as only Trump seems to know this. That's the reason he's in a big war with China. Okay? Did he have to be in a gigantic war trying to go to zero tariffs with China? Isn't that a little much? No. What does he say here? He says, let them come. Come on. You want to do business with us? Come on over, do business. We're going to tax you, George Soros, who gave $18 billion to non-government organizations that are all left-wing fascists in most cases. 184 different ones of them. Changes the names all the time, and their names are the opposite of what they do. That money was stolen from America. So when he says tax them, he's talking about taxing George Soros. I told you, he's using the U.S. Treasury. Money. He knows how things work. It's about money. So what's he saying here? Back off, Congress. You're a bunch of idiots. I've already got him down 27%. I'll take him to 0.
Yeah, but you have globalists in Congress that don't want to see Trump make good deals for America. They are anti-Americans, and folks, you need to get them out of Congress.
If you look closely, we will find that Stephen Halper, who is now a Brit and an American, had 3 different banks that just shuffled money from the Chinese and Chinese and foreign interests into elections. So, do you think they want the tariffs with China to go to 0? Do you think that our $827 billion they steal from us each year, which was created by who? That would be Bill and Hillary Clinton, getting China into the World Trade Organization, which Trump keeps referring to, and he's going to do what we've said he's going to do. He's going to take down the World Trade Organization and the World Bank, certainly within the first year or 2 of his second term. And right here in the second tweet I'm trying to get to, he's telling you he's taking down the Fed.
Yes, that's what it looked like to me.
He's telling you he's taking down the Fed. Now, let me explain how this comes. What is the Fed? They tax us with a fake loan that was given by a bunch of German, Dutch, and British bankers
to
begin with.
The strong arm of the IRS to squeeze that money out of us.
It is an odious debt, and odious debt is illegal. We do not have to pay it. Trump knows that. He's just playing with them. He just told them, if you raise interest rates 1 more speck, I'm going to squish you. That's the in-between here. That's the August 5th note here. That's what he's really saying. He's saying, because look, dudes, Obama was so stupid, he didn't even fill all the positions, and now I get to fill 6 of the 7, and of the 12, I get to choose 11 of them. So do you think that I'm not going to control your stupid Ponzi game of taxing the U.S. government for creating fiat currency, which you do not create?
All they do, people, is print money. They print this paper, and then they dole it out and charge Americans more money to pay it back than the paper. It's just crazy.
And we print the paper, and they charge us for even doing that.
Yes, it's just crazy.
So what's he saying here? He's saying, back off. I've told you this 1,000 times, Congress. I'm going to stop the vampires. I'm going to stop the parasites. I'm going to stop the leeches. I'm going to stop those who are gutting and sucking from America. We're going to give the U.S. wealth back to we the people instead of foreigners. And that's what they cannot stand. And that's why they will do anything to stop Trump, because he is putting money back into the pockets of Americans, which means votes. Now, guess what? That even means you stupid rhino, Republican in name only, and stupid left-wing Democrats, the anarchist party. That's the reason they want illegal immigrants, all 44 million of them, 44 million as quoted by the FBI now in their core study of immigrants, which are illegal. Remember, they're all illegal. 44 million of them, the FBI knows who they are, where they are, that they're illegal, and does nothing about it. And they want to vote, and they will vote, because the FBI doesn't look ever into any fraud in elections, because it's fraud from the get-go, because the machines are all fraudulent and they know it.
Well, why do we even have an FBI? They can't do anything. They haven't found any major crimes in the United States, and it's a federal function. Couldn't all this be rolled back to the states to do these investigations?
We need very, very few FBI, and of the 100 and, now let's see, 30, what do they have? Oh, they have 35,000 FBI agents who really, every once in a while you hear of something they do that sounds like it was okay. First off, it wasn't. That was a show. That was a feather in someone's cap who was going up the ladder to be totally.
Well, they have to make us think that they do something, but correct. All along, under the leadership that we've seen, and Mueller, let's start with him and keep going, they're just there to make sure that no crimes that they commit are ever shown to the American people.
So Trump says, because of tariffs, we will be able to start paying down large amounts of the $21 trillion. Now, when people heard that, people from Bilderberger, people from the Trilateralists, this Council on Foreign Relations, and yes, John, the Royal Institute for International Affairs, and the Round Table in England, and basically every globalist in the world started jumping up and down because they said, yes, if Trump pays off the debt, we get the money because we are the globalists who created the U.S. Fed, and we suck you dry. Oh my gosh, we've tricked Trump. No, Trump just tricked you. And I'm only saying this because globalists don't listen to us. But don't tell the globalists, okay? Here's what really happened. He did that so they would leave him alone to do these worldwide deals so that America will, in the shortest period of time, be great again. Greater than actually we have ever been, because we've always been saddled by debt. And from 1913 on, the federal government took over we the people's rights, including our election rights. We need to start taking these back. But right now, we have a hero in the White House, which is just so unusual. We've had pedophiles, sexual perverts. We've had the most greedy people, the warmongers, people in the White House who literally love to kill people. I'm not exaggerating. I'm sorry, in case you were fooled. But recently, those people love to kill people. Like you said, millions of people die so they get a little piece of their economic pie. That's how pathetic. That's why he calls them sick. And why the mainstream media, they know they're lying. Because anyone with a mind who isn't listening to that subliminal programming, and by the way, they don't listen to it. It's going out of the wire, but the parrots who are reading the news and reading their avid prompter, they don't believe it.
They're just airheads. If you ever watch them, they're just airheads reading what's in front of them on their teleprompters.
They really know nothing. I saw one of them the other day, as they all had to read at one time that Trump was the Orwellian 1984 prediction incarnate. This woman, this newscaster was so pathetic. I guess she'd never heard of the book 1984. Her face was down on the paper trying to read and understand what she was saying, and she didn't even know what she was talking about. Orwellian. She didn't know what Orwellian was.
But the thing is you also heard the same dialogue on several other channels.
So at the same exact time.
So they're being fed, okay, talk about this. Okay, let's keep going. Next one, fake news reporting, a complete fabrication that I am concerned about the meeting my wonderful son Donald had in Trump Tower. This was a meeting to get information on an opponent, totally legal and done all the time in politics, and it went nowhere. I did not know about it.
Now let's start from the last phrase. We told you from the beginning, this is just another propaganda attempt to leverage something that was going on massively on the Democratic side. How about the 12 million diffusion GPS, which works with Russians? Glenn Simpson met with Natalia Veselnitskaya before and after the Trump Tower meeting with
Donald Jr.
With Donald Jr. Glenn Simpson lied in his testimony, and Dianne Feinstein read that behind the closed doors testimony to the public so it could be read into the record as the truth.
After she was driven to the meeting by her Chinese spy of 20 years, which if they had term limits, these Chinese spies would have to kind of find their way back into the system again, right? They wouldn't be there for 20. Oh, and then when her assistant Daniel Jones, and I'll just let you roll with that.
Daniel Jones, who basically was the the person who made all the contacts with Christopher Steele initially to bring them to Dianne Feinstein, to Richard Burr, a Republican, a rhino, let's get him out of there, and of course to Mark Warner, who basically runs that most corrupt Intelligence Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee, the most corrupt committee maybe in U.S. history. We now, Marco Rubio, every time he opens his mouth, that's so he can protect the fact that he was complicit in all of this, because he's on that committee.
And don't forget, they even have a man to go and leak to that Allie Watson, who's what is she, with the New York Times?
Yeah, James Wolfe. She was with the top agency. She's now shifting around, but they still defend her. And so she hasn't lost her job yet.
She's a prostitute. She'll get a job all kinds of places in fake news.
James Wolfe, the coordinator of all the intelligence staff for the Senate Intelligence Committee, was found to have been leaking for years everything. And he also was helping, as well as John McCain's right-hand man, who's now in charge of all whistleblower cases in America. Oh, isn't that nice? That's why no whistleblowers ever come to anyone's attention. I forget his name. Henry, I think is his first name. But anyway, John McCain's right-hand guy was also there to make sure that John McCain controlled that committee too. And then Dianne Feinstein jumped off of that committee and handed the ball over to Marco Rubio so she could join the Judiciary Committee to protect the other criminal things that she's done while her Chinese spy drives her everywhere and listens to everything she says. And also, let's remember, Dianne Feinstein, Maxine Waters, and Nancy Pelosi. I think California should be its own state. I think all those kind of people. We're going to keep Nunes.
No, we're going to keep Nunes. We have to keep Nunes. And by the way, I would like to see some proof of life for John McCain. I'm being very serious. He has not been at work. I haven't seen any YouTube videos of him recent. I think he needs to hold up a fake newspaper to show us the date and that he is alive.
Right, because every picture I've seen of him recently is an old picture.
Yes, and I'm wondering if they aren't trying to do a Bernie's weekend sort of thing on us with John McCain.
Now, I just got to go through this again for people who don't know this, okay? What happened at Trump Towers? First off, John Brennan asked Robert Hannigan, the head of basically the British NSA, to come over and without Admiral Rogers' permission, use the head of the NSA, Fort Meade, Maryland, to spy on this very meeting. But they had literally put in physical wiretaps and everything in Trump Towers, because we know this because the emails that were about this meeting back and forth between Robert Goldstone and others, they have those. And they tried to use them, that they had come from an anonymous source to go after Don Jr. in public. Remember this in the press? And Don just said, no, here's all the emails. So what they were going to use against Don, he threw out and said, no, they've revealed everything. Don, remember, has already been questioned by Robert Mueller. So has everyone who has been at that meeting. Everyone, including people he had to bring into this country, again, under immunity deals, who are literally Russian spies.
I told you it's SS Herr Robert Mueller.
Oh, he's unbelievable. So let's remember, Mueller knows all of this, okay? But this is another Comey attempt. Comey helped this. It was Felix Sater who worked with Robert Goldstein, and I can't remember all these Russian names, but let's just say, of the 4 or 5 people who were there, 4 of them were known Russian spies. Okay, they got into this country. They came in with Natalia under special permission of the State Department. That had to have been Victoria Nuland, and John Kerry would have had to have signed off on that, but it was probably coordinated by Bruce Orr.
Well, what about Loretta Lynch's involvement in that?
I'm sorry, and Loretta Lynch, excuse me. It's both, because when they handed it off, they didn't trick any of us. Both of those are equally guilty for Hillary's scam.
Loretta? She couldn't wait to get out of town. She was out in December before Trump ever came for his inauguration.
Loretta was manipulating the laptop of Huma's laptop, which it alone is the largest espionage case we've ever had in American history. 700,000 emails, everything
Oh, thank
Hillary
goodness. They built all those FEMA camps because we're going to be able to fill them.
And who controlled that? That was Peter Strzok. He waited, and he said he was going to start looking at this since he found out about it in October, and he then held it up till September. He found it in September, held it up to October, saying he didn't know how to write the search warrant. So he gave them a bad one, and then they said that doesn't work, and then he hesitated and gave them another one, and then he said, what did he say when he finally got it? He says, yeah, we may have to look at this sometime in January or February, once the election is over. We may have to look at proof positive that everything he had said was a lie about the email scandal of Hillary Clinton. Then he went, of course, he was directing the operation against Trump. He was directing Franklin Foer and his fake Trump Tower connection with Russia. He was helping and doing everything he could because he was helping coordinate Bruce Ohr and the Fusion Democratic National Committee dossier against Trump. These were all inside things. Remember, Sidney Blumenthal and Sidney Shearer gave their addition to that dossier before it ever went to Christopher Steele, before Christopher Steele was hired, and before, well, Stephen Halpern was hired from the beginning because he started to set up George Papadopoulos and Carter Page all the way back in January when Comey sent Page into the Trump team and set Papadopoulos up and framed them all along from January on. And then what happens? Papadopoulos, an investigation, Crossfire Hurricane, was started on Papadopoulos, but he wasn't even picked up for 6 months and wasn't questioned for a year, so that investigation could remain open, so that every wiretap and every unmasking of Susan Rice and Samantha Powers and that went straight to Obama and Valerie Jarrett and the Obama White House, Susan Rice, they all admit they're in on it. Susan Rice said she was there talking about it. We have documents saying that it's a huge conspiracy. It's all going to have to fall down at once, and the ones who are going to cause it to fall down are the ones who get caught in situations where the FBI lawyers can't get them out, like Peter Strzok or Andrew McCabe or others. So and it's going to be Mueller. In the end, it's going to be Mueller. We said this all along, and now it's turning on Mueller. Judge Ellis is going against Mueller, so that entire counterintelligence operation is beginning to break up. And as soon as those 20 pages come out, and what did the 23 minutes with Hannity and Nunes say? The most important thing was Bruce Ohr's statements and connection to this are going to sink the ship, because then that's the State Department, that's Hillary. That means from the beginning, the DNC, this was a complete DNC. So Hillary, when she was no longer in office, still ran the White House, because why? George Soros ran the White House. Read the WikiLeaks. George Soros ran Obama. George Soros ran Hillary.
Well, keep on, but let's interject this tweet because it's related. Why aren't Mueller and the 17 angry Democrats looking at the meetings concerning the fake dossier and all of the lying that went on in the FBI and DOJ? This is the most one-sided witch hunt in the history of our country. Fortunately, the facts are all coming out and fast.
That's the thing. Fortunately, the facts are all coming out and fast. That's the 20 redacted pages. Nunes had the Nunes memo, which was a compilation of over 2,000 documents. Okay? These 20 pages, and Trump will redact them. He said yes. The only thing stopping it is if somebody really convinces him that there is a national security issue here, which there is not, because it was all fake. It's against national security. This is an attack on national security. And by the way, the Trump effect is what's going to get them on these accusations, and the reason they're going in again and again, and now they're questioning. The reason this is coming up is they're questioning that Russian pop singer that was the friend of Rob Goldstone that was part of all of this. He and his sister were two of the people there. Well, they're Russian spies. Who doesn't know that? Okay, so they're questioning him again and trying to get him to tell lies against Trump. You see, that's what all Mueller is doing, is trying to find crimes, invent crimes, or put crimes in other people's mouths. That's all he's doing.
And Bruce Ohr is still employed.
Yes, and he faked these documents. And his wife worked for Fusion GPS. She quit working for the FBI using the open source tool that she used to help create that dossier.
On her ham radio?
With her ham radio, she actually got news because she speaks Russian. So we pointed all of this out. So she was a spy from the FBI sent over to Fusion GPS. But when you find out that Fusion GPS works for Russia, is anyone going to be surprised? Natalie Veselnitskaya is a client of Fusion. She is a Russian spy. She's on the no-go list. The State Department had to allow her, give her a special visa, and then have a special meeting on the Magnitsky Act again, which no one even knows what it is. We've explained it to you.
Oh, that was her cover, that she had to be here for
Correct.
that? And
Correct.
that's why we get a picture of her sitting behind the guy in the hearings?
Which she didn't speak at.
No, but that gives us verification that she was in the country for this activity.
Had 4 official meetings.
But what she really was doing was to go and to set up Donald Trump Jr.
That was one of the meetings, Donald Trump. The other one was Congress, where she did not testify, and 2 were with Glenn Simpson. And then she had to leave immediately, and the 2 spies that also met her in New York, as well as the 2 Singer spies, as well as Rob Goldstein, who are all spies, and Felix Sater, who set it up. Well, Paul Manafort was there, and we told you from the beginning, no matter what, Manafort's phone had been tapped for years. He had 5 investigations going on. As Trump points out, why didn't they tell Trump? When they told Trump, he fired him a few days later. That phone was tapped. Donald's phone was tapped. Everyone's phone was tapped. But these were physical wiretaps. These were like microwaves in the windows. These were on the lines. These are literally wiretaps. So when Trump said that he had been wiretapped, that was because he was talking about a stupid mainstream media news agency that used that word. And then they said he was stupid for using it. They literally wiretapped. But it was the Brits. It was Robert Hannigan. That's the reason that Admiral Rogers got so mad and demanded that the FISA court warrants actually have an investigation of them, that especially anything that came through NSA. And that's what caused that report of the Inspector General in December of 2016, which said that they had completely abused the FISA court both nationally and internationally. So when we're talking about this, what's happening is the Trump effect. Go ahead. Everyone you interview, Mueller, just again shows who you are and brings more criminals out of the woodwork. And then they start like Oleg Deripaska yelling at the news agencies what he wants us to believe. He is a Russian oligarch who paid Daniel Jones, Dianne Feinstein's Senate intelligence staffer, paid millions of dollars. Daniel Jones got $50 million for his group to continue the work of Fusion GPS to this very day. So when these people are brought out and a person gets caught, then Adam Waldman starts telling about Oleg Deripaska, and then Oleg Deripaska starts talking about Leonid Brzezinski. And it's just beautiful. It's a domino effect. So we're seeing it everywhere. Just pay close attention. Now what needs to happen, and will happen, because now, as soon as Nunes brings down the deep state buildings and they crash to the ground, then a new special counsel will go after the Democrats, and one after the next will turn on each other like rats, and they will sing the songs. They will sing whatever song that new special counsel puts in their mouth, so that Obama, yes, folks, we could have a president go to jail.
Not jail. He's not going to jail.
Well,
he would
I know
have
what
to
you
go.
want.
Yes, he will have to be hung for treason, or whatever you do for treason. This was high crimes and misdemeanors, or it doesn't sound right when you say misdemeanors. He was going to overthrow the United States of America along with George Soros and all these other globalists. That is treason, people.
That is true. It's sedition. It's treason. It's a act against the U.S. Constitution. He lied. Look at anything he did. You can't name anything, folks. Nothing. I don't care if he went to give a nice speech about a new thing that was opening up in some nice foreign country where U.S. aid is helping. No, that was his friend. And that building never opened.
And we need to make sure that whatever the law is of what you do with people who commit treason, that we carry it out to the fullest extent to everyone that is involved in this treason, because we must move on in American history, and we must remember this huge stain on our history and learn from it.
He is a thief. He was trafficking human beings across our southern border. But the theft, we can see it again and again in everything he touched. Everything he touched, he simply stole. He allowed Hillary to steal. He even wrote agreements to allow Hillary to steal while the Secretary of State, and then she even went more beyond those agreements and stole more. He used unsecure lines to talk to Hillary, to talk to Comey, to talk to Susan Rice. There was a conspiracy against the United States of America by a person whose name was not Barack Obama. And when we get back to the real basis of that, then yes, what you're saying is true. Will we get that far down that rabbit hole? It depends on whether those special prosecutors do any plea agreements. I say no plea agreements and no immunity for anybody.
No, because we've got too much evidence here. Citizens have the evidence. Just give us a call. We'll provide you with the crime line. And then the final tweet today, too bad a large portion of the media refuses to report the lies and corruption having to do with the rigged witch hunt, but that is why we call them fake news.
Well, that's what I liked about that Hannity show with Nunes. He showed his Democratic partner on the Congressional Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, talking to a fake Russian selling out America. Basically almost saying, well, how much do I need to pay you to get these fake movies of Trump with prostitutes? Literally, he is such an idiot. He's the guy who, his response to Nunes was to give a 100% redacted response. Every single thing in it was redacted because he knew that every single word had to give up methods and sources, so it would be redacted, so he could then use that as an excuse for saying that what was in it was something different than what was in it. This man is as crooked as Mark Warner and the Senate Intelligence Committee. These are the people who let Imran Awan come in and take over, basically, the Congress and the Senate Intelligence Committee. This is a man who argued to get Imran Awan the highest security clearance you can get, SCIF security clearance in the Congress. Adam Schiff signed that letter repeatedly for a year and a half to make sure Imran Awan got that. So why? So that the Israelis, the Pakistanis, everyone, the Russians, anyone who wanted it could buy that information, and you could get it directly all the way back to Hillary's server. You could get it back to the Democratic National Committee. You could get it to John Podesta. Didn't matter. Whatever you wanted, you could buy at that time. What happened? The FBI did nothing about that. Imran Awan's being given a complete immunity deal. Anything he ever testified about, and he testified about all the crimes, but it's all going to be immune. Same thing with John Podesta and his brother. Anything they have testified with Robert Mueller, complete immunity. Same crimes that Manafort did, the Podestas did, they have complete immunity. That's the way it works, folks. It's called fake justice. Fake justice is coming to an end because what they set up is that the White House really gets to control all of this. After 2 years of Trump and then another 8 years of another MAGA person, there will be no more fake justice, no more fake news, no more fake Congress, no more fake Senate, no more fake lobbyists, no more fake U.S. Chamber of Commerce, no more fake USAID, no more fake OPEC, no more fake contracts with Serco, and no more senior executive service members.